means coming to an end.
Vocabulary refers to knowing the meaning of words and is critical to successful reading comprehension. Building vocabulary involves teaching your learner how to figure out the meaning of words while reading. It also requires selecting and studying the meanings of individual words and parts of words. It's important to relate these vocabulary words to learners' current and prior experiences to help cement them in their word bank.
Here is the word karmic.
For direct instruction of general vocabulary, you might decide to teach several new words each week. When deciding which words to select from texts to pre-teach to your learner, keep in mind the following types of words that are particularly useful and can include words in the news, difficult or unfamiliar words, signal words, words not well defined by context, words that reinforce word learning strategies, prefixes and suffixes, compound words, high-frequency words.
Okay, Janine, so we're going to be using a strategy today that's going to really boost our reading comprehension, but it's a vocabulary development strategy. What is a strategy, by the way? What comes to mind when you hear that word?
It's an idea of steps to get to your goal, to the end of what you're working with.
Yeah, it
steps,
really.
idea.
Yeah, you said very key words there. You know, it's steps that you take in order to get to the goal, and in this case of increasing your vocabulary so you can boost your comprehension. So the strategy is, it's called pre-teaching words, and it's a way of learning words or knowing the meaning of words inside of a text before you actually sit down and read the text.
Okay.
Okay, so to write out, we'll call this pre-teaching words. Okay, so the first step to this strategy is scanning a text. And do you know what scanning means?
Looking over the words. I don't really necessarily have to do anything, but if something jumps out at me or I don't understand something, that is what I'm looking to do. Pull that out.
Exactly, that's scanning a text. So something helpful for me is thinking at the grocery store, scanning the groceries. Okay, in this case, we're moving our eyeballs over the text, and we're looking for specific words that we might not know the meaning of.
Okay.
Okay, great. So you scan the text. That's the first step. The next step is you actually pull out words that look unfamiliar or difficult, words that you don't know the meaning of. All right, so I'm just going to write pull out words. Okay, so the words can be unfamiliar, difficult, you know, maybe you don't know the meaning of the word. And sometimes you might pull out a word and realize, I do know the meaning of this word. Or maybe it's hard to decode or break down, but then when you hear it, you actually do know the meaning. So we're looking for words that it's the meaning that we want to learn, okay? So the second step is to pull out these words. The next step is using clues in the text. So maybe reading the sentence that that difficult word is inside of. And then maybe you can guess the meaning of the word. You can use context clues. And in that case, you know, you're kind of like Sherlock Holmes, putting together clues and realizing, oh, I can figure out the meaning of this without having to look it up or anything, okay? So how about if we say using context to figure out that unknown word? And I'll just say figure it out. So I'm going to ask you this, Janine. When you're not with me, which is most of your life, what are some ways that you can find out word meanings?
By looking them up in the dictionary or on the computer.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and something I like to do too is I like to ask people around me, what does this word mean? So you can use technology, you can use the dictionary, you can ask people, talk about it with friends. And you know, sometimes it's tricky. A word might have 10 different definitions. But if we have the title and maybe a little context, you're on a good path to find the right one. All right, so maybe you will use an outside resource like a dictionary. You know, I use my phone all the time now to look up words. Use dictionary, computer, phone, and then you can take that word, put it back in the text, and see if it makes sense, once again using context, once you've really focused on a definition. See if that's the correct definition.
Okay.
Okay, and then lastly, and this is the fun part, you know, you get to read the text. That's where all of this strategy pays off. You can double check that the meanings are making sense in context of what you're reading, okay?
Okay.
This can be a very powerful strategy for reading comprehension when we know the words, the word meanings in a text. So the reason we're going to do this beforehand, scan the words, try to figure them out, look them up and so forth, is when you're actually reading the text, when you come across a word that's unfamiliar or difficult, it kind of stops the flow. And, you know, your train of thought is kind of derailed. And so there goes the reading comprehension. So we really want to play with, focus on, learn the meaning of words before we get to the text so that we can have the smoothest, most fluent reading experience that we can, because that's simply very important for understanding, for our reading comprehension.
Okay.
So this will be like a little roadmap we can use to learn words inside of a text. Shall we do it?
Yes.
Let's do it. All right.
Teaching learners the meaning of unfamiliar words in a text before asking them to read it not only builds their vocabulary, it also boosts their comprehension of the reading material. When deciding which words to select from texts to pre-teach to your learner, keep in mind that some types of words carry more vocabulary building power than others. These are the best words to work on with your learner. Developing background knowledge and a strong vocabulary is key to reading well. For this reason, it's important to explicitly and regularly focus on vocabulary development with your learner. You've seen a tutor do quite a bit of talking when explaining a new strategy. During most lessons, you and your learner would be equally talkative.